another session of Sunny Side Up. Today's conversation is with someone who's a total dil se woman. She is all heart. She is deeply honest and open about her so-called failures and very casual about all her achievements. In my eyes, she is a woman of substance who went through a journey of search which took her all across the globe. And finally, in 2013, she found her calling. Meet Saloni Bharadwaj, the co-founder of Lotus Petal Foundation. As Saloni says somewhere during a conversation, what is meant to be yours will find its way to you. With time, it will all make sense. So, after nearly giving up her dream, spending time searching and looking, she's finally doing what her heart always wanted to do, and that is serving the underserved. Let's get up and close with Saloni and be part of her very fascinating journey. A very warm welcome to Sunny Side Up, Saloni, and welcome to my home. Thank you so much for giving me your time and driving all the way up here. It's lovely to see you. How are you feeling?
I'm very pleased to be here, Sunita, and really overwhelmed that over the years you kept an eye on noticing me around and this thought of inviting me. And the best thing is that you were very clear that I have to come home, so which was a refreshing change. So thank you so much.
The pleasure's all mine. I've been wanting to speak to you, invite you over, and share your journey for so long. And here you are, finally. Let's get to know you through your childhood days. A bit about your parents, influences of that time.
Um, I'm a 70s child. Okay, so a little bit of the flower girl, and I was born and raised in Lucknow, and the time both my parents were working. Um, it was a different time for everyone, I guess. I socially and culturally how that city was has influenced me deeply. I went to a Catholic convent. The city was I would say almost 72% Muslim populated. We were regular non-conformist Punjabi Hindu family. So all of these, influences were like a melting pot of really what India is and definitely was. So that was a big formation of my worldview. That we celebrated all the festivals with exactly the same excitement, and I continue to do that. So that really thing, I think the external part was a deep influence on how I look at the world even today. Home, we were just a very simple, regular family. Both the parents were working. But when I look back at that time and at my parents from where I am today, I really think that both of my parents were breaking a lot of stereotypes back then. My mother is a doctor. My dad was just a young medical representative working for Abbott Labs back in the day. But just to have two working parents uh, who were extremely dedicated, committed, and sincere to their work, both sharing responsibilities of the house. I mean, both could drive a car, and not that we had a car at that time, but eventually when we did, and both could cook, put the clothes to wash and do all the grocery shopping. I think when I look back, late 70s and early 80s, not many homes were doing that. So if my mom was going to the clinic in the evening, dad and me were chopping vegetables and cooking dinner for the night, and it was watching the news, have dinner, and go to bed kind of a home. And again, um, both of them depicted great personal discipline and work ethic, and which was also supported by a very strong sense of duty towards the family. So it was not just like career and raising your only child. I was a single child for a very long time, and I want to believe I was not spoiled. So the influence of our extended family, and how they both had to work hard to make that all of my cousins also went to school, or my, their my dad's brothers, he lost two of his brothers very soon, how all my cousins had school, new clothes for the festivals. So that kind of commitment from both my parents, I think that kept the home very abundant and balanced. We never had a lot of money while growing up, but I think the community, the abundance of relationships and sharing, and saving for everyone, I think these values, now when I look back, really give me a balance of home and work, and the community, so to say.
Wow, I really like your comment that your parents were already breaking a lot of stereotypes back then. Share a bit more about them. How are they influencing you?
I think my father definitely has been the strongest influence of my life, undoubtedly. We shared um, the most unique relationship for a very, very long time. I would say for the first 3 decades, 2 to 3 decades of my life. And I think he would say that, oh, I've raised her like a boy, but I think he raised me like a solid woman, if I think of it, who can get her passport made, drive a car, rent a house, travel countries, and just like pick up and move when things are changing. I think distinctly what I learned from my father was hard work. That how much ever hard work you put in anything with a lot of love, it's sure to it's sure to give you what you are getting in for. A few critical things that I still remember, which he would say that one should not depend on others for the basic things. You should always be independent. So everything, by the time I was 16, I could drive a car. Back in the day. So I finished my 10th boards, and I knew that the first thing I need to do is get a learner's license and know how to drive.
That's a great life skill.
Yeah, 1994. Like now when I look back, these were really things which were breaking stereotypes, but it was a way of life for us. So whether it was to cook, clean, travel, do your own things, you just have to do it yourself. Second, he was very clear that if you want to change your life, it's up to you. You put in the hard work, and you can go from point A to point B. And that, I think, has been a very big guiding force for me, that you don't have to sit and fuss over something that is not working or working out, and you don't have to like succumb to what has happened. You have the skills for survival, and it is up to you, it is up to your mind space how you want to look at that thing and change it. um, Lastly, he's also very old fashioned, in the sense that he wants everything, full family, a dog, and all the people around, which has is totally away in the urban life, but keeping all the relationships around him and getting into everybody's, are you okay, can you come over, all those, and checking on people. I think that's something, that fullness, as the fullness of life, the that robustness, that fullness is something I really admire, because sometimes you're so stressed at work, you're like, oh, I can't deal with this, but he's like, I want everything, like a good meal, and Diwali, and festivals, and travel, and family time. So I think that's pretty good. One thing which I just learned last week from him, really, about, and I was just like, I was really stressed at work for certain things, and I was just really down and out. And he just spoke, and I told him, I'm really, just like, ugh. And he said that when you're this stressed, the only thing you need to do is work a little bit harder towards what you really like to do. So I was like, what? He said, yeah, just pick up that thing that you really like, and just do that a little bit more, and the other thing will solve on its own. And I was like, okay. And I did that. Okay. And I would like to put it in record. It happened, like just focus.
Magic.
Yeah. And yeah. From my mom, I learned a lot of discipline. A lot of discipline. It was not very nice at that time, but I think I learned a lot of discipline. A lot of discipline, and I think the punctuality, the discipline, and thing. I think that was pretty unique. I think the ability to want to learn in every situation, because coming from a small town, she became a doctor and drive and all of those things. Like I said, I can give you more examples, but there is the flair which with which we lived even with less money. It was only because she was picking up the right things from the environment, and to send her daughters to the best school in the city, and she said because she wanted us to speak in good English, which she could not. But to have the courage to accept this and to just put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, and because she would know that for the rest of her life she'll be signing up with these kind of daughters and the fear that comes with it. So I think the desire to constantly learn and push yourself is very unique. And I think how to be a good cook. I think how to cook and bake and how to serve and make a fuss about that. I think that's totally with the least amount of ingredients to cook up the best meal and to enjoy it at the best place. So I think that's something I really cherish from her.
I must say, great influences, discipline, hard work, family values, and so much more you got from them. And obviously, the city was also helping you assimilate a lot of cultural values. तो अब आगे चलते हैं. Do you know what you want to do in future?
So, for the largest part of my life, the only thing I wanted to do was travel the world. And there was this innate sense of search that I had, which I didn't know what that was. I eventually found it, but there was this one restlessness inside me, and it would just not be calm for the longest time in my life till I found what I'm doing right now. Sorry to break the suspense. But that search used to tell me, like, now maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, maybe I should change this city, this country, or this situation. So that restlessness was the primary driving factor of my life for, I would say, since like 99 2000 until like 2011 12, I would say.
Almost a decade.
Pretty much a decade. And the only thing that used to make it calm were some bits of volunteering, and but primarily it was my spiritual search. So from a very young age I started to do all my yoga courses, different meditation courses, and I was like 21, 22 when I like did the first art of living course. Art of living was very new at that time, and Sri Ravi Shankarji used to take the advanced course himself in Rishikesh. So I had the good fortune of being with him for 2 weeks. So many such things started to happen, and I was coincidentally through my search, traveling to be in really very beautiful holy places, finding myself at the banks of Gangaji for longer than people of my age would like to be, and read the kind of books which adults around me used to tell me that no, 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 you can't read, this is not your age. So I think these two things were the riding factor of where my life was heading. But really, honestly tell you, I had no idea where I was going. I wanted to be a journalist, so I went to England. I don't know how it happened. Of course, there was a lot of hard work and disappointments and struggles, and I was like, now when I was thinking back, I was the first Indian student of the University of Sheffield in the broadcasting course. So I had to like answer questions like, where are you from, and your English is so good, and why do you use such difficult words? I didn't know people from your world could speak this. But I had the good fortune of working for BBC and working in the radio stations and going to the best places. So all these things were really giving me more confidence, expanding my horizon, but still not telling me where I have to go. But with all of this, also, my weekends and evenings were really spent in volunteering at different places. So now, when I'm connecting dots, so there was this parallel story always running, right? And while living in England, I spent a lot of time with Pakistani children, children who had moved from Pakistan and had not been well oriented in the system. A lot of the stresses of their struggles with the acclimatization in the Western culture That was changing how I was looking at the world. 9/11 had just happened when I was in London. It was just happened. So I just saw, coming from Lucknow, the all secular place, I had no idea that, there is a difference between Hindus and Muslims or anyone else. So, my worldview was constantly changing with the new situations I was putting myself in. You know the twin towers, like I was telling, the twin towers crashing in front of you, it was not just crashing, it completely changed how everything is in the world even today. I mean, that was really the beginning of it all. And that anxiety of seeing the world change in front of me, being alone without family, again was calmed down only when I was spending time with the underserved. So, there was always this, like, the spiritual side, and the tactile bit was going and serving. So this was playing out, but very unknowingly, unconsciously, just as a little, oh, this is my refuge, so that moved back to India, worked in mainstream television and media, again lived in few different cities here. And every experience that I was going through in terms of personal and professional was taking me really farther away from where I had thought I wanted to go, or where all my friends were going. All my friends at my age had good corporate jobs, were getting married, were making so much more money that I was making, because I never wanted to commit myself to something, one a station at a place. But definitely, it was making me more anxious. I was feeling I'm missing out the bus, and in all these anxieties, I think the only constant thing that I was running back to was service. So, I think the necessity and the drive to make it work, and the acceptance of responsibility, I think, was all coming together, and balancing life. But all of these left me ultimately definitely richer and fuller with experiences. Now I look back. And the main thing that kept me together was my work with the Pakistan Muslim Council in Sheffield. I used to work with a lot of underserved children as an education mentor, and I used to go over the in the weekends or sometimes in the evenings, into this very difficult area of Sheffield called the Kashmir Gardens, and work with children. And my first children I mentored was Safina and Wasim, 7 and 9. Now they're like big and they have children, and their children are also my Facebook friends. But that family and what I was doing with them and the other children, I think that was something that was helping me adjust in England a lot more easier, because I think that was what was nourishing me a lot. So again, it all adds up together.
Yeah. Great. So London, and then your journey back into India is what we should
Yeah,
do.
I moved back to India, wanted to work for television. And that time, Indian television was going through a lot of metamorphosis, and new channels were going to come. This is 2003 4. So at that time, we had Doordarshan and Star News and NDTV, and all used to be like embedded in that. So it was very plain Jane. So I did not have much knowledge of all these changes coming up, but I really wanted to work for television in India. And what I was not told was that I had too much color on my hair to go into these interviews that I was going into. And ignorance is bliss. So ultimately, I landed up a job with Mr. Rajat Sharma, and before independent news service became India TV. I mean, it's still the parent company is INS. So that job, first job in India as a news reporter, was a game changer of my life. I think, I think first of all, the kind of learning I had at the grassroots level, at Mr. Sharma's team, and the exposure, and how he instantly identifies talent and hard work, and how you are without knowing at the right places. And so I think even in a very very short time I was able to um, in spite of all this, mental blocks, when people would meet me and see me and know, "Oh, she's come from here and this is how she is," and all, I think in a very short span of time, I was able to do what I had thought in my mind I wanted to do. But it was very difficult. It was very, very difficult adjusting into the Delhi political scene, and learning, and the long hours of work, sometimes working for 18 hours, 7 days a week. The money is less, but it's real, and the drive to do it is. But as I was going deeper into mainstream journalism and the channels were opening, again that thing inside me was very unsettling, which was like, this is not what I really want to do, and this is not what I had set out to do. Like, I want to be a journalist because I want to go deep down, and I learned a lot about nonprofits working as a journalist. I worked with a lot of nonprofits at that time, but I was not working with them as them. I was working as someone doing the reporting, and what I wanted to do was like how I can take that story and take it out. It wasn't like, it was very different from what I wished and hoped than what the world wanted. So somewhere as a 24, 25-year-old, I was getting very disillusioned with what I was doing. I was not motivated. I was just tired. And it's great, and it was a great time to be in media. My goodness, there were so many new channels, and I could, one could be on television, and there was so much need. NDTV had like so many channels, and then India TV was coming, IBN, every channel was coming. It was really the right time, but all of that was putting more pressure on me, on of like, that this is like a trade-off from this, that hippie life that I imagined. Like, I'll, like, this is it, and for this. And so then what would Saloni do? Pack up and move to another place. So then that's what happened, and I lived in Mumbai for a while after that. I had, by the time I was tapering off my stint with Rajatji, I started to freelance for different publications and newspapers and magazines, just to make some money and to be on my own. And because nobody understood what I was doing and why I was doing, and what are the decisions I keep taking, and why am I not married, and where is she headed to, and all of that. But I think that restlessness, that search of like, where is it, what is it, what is it, what is it that I want, I think that was really very, very, very difficult for a large part of my life. So I, did some bits in Mumbai, but again, a large part of my stay in Mumbai was also influenced by a lot of new spiritual practices that I got introduced to, and that I felt was a big solace and direction for me, and calmed me. After that, I got married, and continued to do what I was doing, which was not a whole lot as the world was seeing it. Because again, like, most of my friends were doing so well at that age. They were talking package and doing foreign holidays, and what was I doing? Just at home writing some articles, finding ways to travel, low budget travel, and getting excited about going to Coorg. Like, this really was uh, not not how world perceives you at that age. Because you're not, that is not success really. That time one needs to dedicate to the search, that space, it's kind of considered as a, like, kuch nahi kiya or failure. And I didn't expect her to be doing this. Maybe she could have done better. She even went there and she worked here. So I think that was, it's tough. um, but I think I was so used to that it was fine. Lived in America for a while, about almost, quite a while, and it's home. Made some of the closest relationships over there, and by the time I reached America, I think I was absolutely, shamelessly, unabashedly able to say that I just want to volunteer. Okay, I was just like, I'm done with everything. And um, at that time, at least, you could smell democracy in the air in America. It was such a free and open, it is such a free and open place. And I was in the Midwest, and all I did was volunteer. Just found charities around me, soup kitchens, um, just the possible opportunity started my first fundraising chapter, and where I was able to raise funds for international charities, made new friends, found simpler, creative ways to um, raise even small amount of money. And my people who I was raising money were like very sweet, simple, traditional Midwest people who probably, I mean, who I was, where I was so romantic for them that I had to like, but they are like closest friends to me and family, and very excited about the world I showed to them. Very, very pleased, open, and excited about that world. And used to be very excited about all these interesting charities that I would introduce to them, and they would trust that I would get the best. So I think this in 2007 and 8 started to um, s- become a training ground of what my charity in India would be like. That people give money for the people who are running it or for people who are asking it. People are looking for charities that have low overhead. They should know where their money is going. They want to be involved because all the people around me, just one has come, two have come to India actually from there, but they would never, I can't even imagine them that they would come to India really. But they believed in me, they believed in the different causes that I was supporting and bringing to them. And they were not even from India, those causes, but they were trusting, they were feeling the pain of the need of people. So I started to understand that human beings respond for other people's suffering, and that doesn't have to be for the same color, race, or ethnicity. And they want to do good, they want to give, and they don't know where to give. And they have been giving to a church or to a place close by or to a bigger charity, and they're like, the overheads are so big, I don't even know where it's going. I want to be involved, I want my children to be involved. So you know what, I had a journal and I would keep noting all of these things down. I had the good fortune, I have the good fortune of being able to implement it. But that those formative years of in America, the 5 7 years, and the kind of people I met became like my learning ground for what I'm doing now. But also I came to a point where I was like, just this and nothing else is what I want to do.
Found your calling finally.
I don't know. I just felt that this is what I want to do. And when you're living outside India, uh, you feel that you feel a little bit smarter than everyone in India. And you feel that, when I'll go back to India, I can do this so well. And I'll have my own charity and I'll open it and it'll be like this. And when you really come to India, you know that you can't even get a driver's license made. It is so tough. So I had that moment when I moved back to India, and it was just so tough, so tough, two very small children, and so tough that I really felt that this dream of me having my own charity. I remember early 2013 that I would never be able to have my own charity because it was just so tough. And I could not even volunteer now. I didn't even have a little place I could go to. And, it's like in the heart of Delhi, and the life over here. I mean, it's very tough to find a place and go to volunteer here. I mean, you can't. It's not structured and it's not organized, and though the need is so much higher. So I pretty much think that by early 2013, I had almost given it up that I will find my own charity really. I was really looking for a small charity where I could volunteer or, share what I have learned so that that charity could benefit, and I could be, working at a grassroots level so that things could grow. And the more I went in search, I realized that people over here were not very open for this. Some of them were like, we are doing good and this is what we want to do and this is what these people need. Or they don't want too much interference in terms of how accounts are happening, how donations are happening, how, they don't want so much interference or changes. There was at that time, this is like 2013-14, a lot has changed now. But at that time, everything was like, no, this is great. Yeah, you can give us the money or you can fundraise for us and all. But I can't fundraise if I don't know who I'm raising funds for. And I was like, okay. And because then reality sets in and you are a mother first, and it's just everything is so tough, and really to get your Aadhaar card and your license back in the time when you just come back, it's just so hard. So uh, I think somewhere I felt I was giving up on that. That was making me very, very sad, very, very sad, and very, very sad. And because this across all over the years used to be my only solace. But I think when you really want something really, really bad, I might sound like Shah Rukh Khan, but if you really want something very bad and like really very bad, and you may forget it, but there is yeah, but there is something that always remembers and keeps a track of every night that you've stayed awake hoping for that thing. I think so things start to happen on its own.
So this is where we stop our conversation. After all, शाहरुख खान के बाद ब्रेक तो बनता है.